And as I was on the borderline state between objective consciousness and the undersea of consciousness, which is the subconsciousness, what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, in between that area, which is a very important area, I would experience the light. And the light would fill as if it were my head. And while experiencing that light, I had all knowledge in my hands. That was the feeling I felt. It was extreme, extreme happiness. Oh, much more than happiness. Bliss, a lightness. Knowing everything. So I came to the conclusion that the reason why we're living is to know more and more and more until we know everything. And once we know everything, we then can join the hierarchy of the universe and direct it. And that's what's in my book. And that's what I've been telling you all along. That is the secret. So, you have the light, which I've experienced. You can do the same thing. Just when you go to bed, just try to close your eyes. You don't have to go to bed. Sit down in a chair, close your eyes, and visualize as bright a light as possible. Pull it into yourself. However, it's not so easy because nowadays we are toxic. Practically everybody, 85% of society, is suffering from toxemia because they eat meat, they eat junk, they drink, they carouse, they hold negative thoughts constantly. And this light is subtle. I mean, it is so subtle that if you come into the space of a person who is negative, who is holding negative thoughts, it will pull you down. You have to be already a master in order not to fall. After all, the tippity top of the pyramid is a small space when you reach the tippity top. See? It's a small space. And you're there, and all of a sudden somebody else comes up and he's negative and you fall. It's much easier to fall down the mountain than it is to climb up. So you need to be careful. You need to be aware of those people in your vicinity who are negative, who invalidate you, who bring you down. And either disconnect from them or learn, which is better, learn to handle them. While I'm on the tippity top of the pyramid, I want to give you a metaphor that I consider very important. On the bottom of the pyramid, you have a lot of space. On the tippity top of the pyramid, there is no space. It's just a little peak up there. Now, consider that in the world, on the earth, all of these people, everybody's climbing up that pyramid. And the higher they go, the less space and time exists between them. And they keep climbing and climbing and climbing. And finally, when they reach the tippity top, they all agree, because there is no time and space up there. It's only one tippity little top. They all agree. Down here, they disagree. Oh, the different schools of self-empowerment, they all disagree, or they agree, but they don't agree on this principle. All baloney. And they keep climbing up, and when they're almost to the top, they begin to agree. And then they reach the top, and then everybody agrees automatically. What I'm trying to say is that as we get evolved more and more, we naturally tend to unite with those of our values. And this is important, although there are not that many, but it's important because they enhance our own personal evolution. Okay, I think I said what I wanted to say. And I would advise you to get this book, How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown. Read the 2 books by Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead. The 114 Concepts of Dr. Wallace, all the time while studying this course, my course. All right, we're going to go on to the next point. I'm going to record on YouTube 2 or 3 lectures at one time. The next point is man-woman is benevolent. Contrary to what we have been taught, man-woman is basically benevolent. This you will discover as you begin transforming. I repeat, what makes man-woman bad, quote-unquote, is the multitude of trauma in her subconscious that was acquired through the process of trial and error evolution and living life, especially in childhood. When this trauma is eradicated, that is made conscious, because it's unconscious right now, the negative stuff. When it's made conscious, men and women become simple and innocent like a child, while reasoning perfectly in bringing happiness to her life. So, if you want peace in the world is pretty messed up right now, but if you want peace, don't join groups. Join societies. Don't join churches. Don't join anything to change it. You can't change it. There's only one way you can change it, and that is to change yourself, to transform yourself. And as you transform yourself and you begin living a different type of life, others will imitate you. Continuing with man is benevolent, the myths of religion and mysticism in general are the cause of most of the strife in the world, because they are lies. When people's reasoning is based on lies, and they throw their cares unto the Lord, quote unquote, they become irresponsible. And so their lives fall apart while they, humble poor things, pray for forgiveness. How sick. Man-woman is basically selfish. This is the next point. Man-woman is firstly concerned with her own survival and happiness. This is good. There is such a thing as a necessary irrational selfishness, which is negative. But man-woman loses this trait as she begins to live according to her biological and spiritual nature and understands the inherited purpose of life. The word spiritual here has nothing to do with religion and mysticism. By spiritual, I mean the aesthetical and inner faculties. Sometimes I use the word aesthetical to mean spiritual. The word spiritual has been prostituted. You and I both have been made sinful for being selfish by those who wanted to control us. The unnecessary and irrational selfishness, when existent in an individual, will give away almost immediately. Get this. When he begins to be truly selfish, engaging in the purpose of life itself. Next point, it is aesthetical to love ourselves. We, in this upside-down world, have been taught from childhood to feel guilty and thus to dislike ourselves. So that's exactly what most do. And thus they never experience self-esteem. Self-esteem is an inborn feeling of worth that is embedded in our biological and aesthetical nature. It is not something one develops, but something one attains as a result of action and production. It exists already within you, but is covered up by laziness, trauma, Mama and Papa's proverbial invalidations in childhood, and the spouse's admonitions for your own good.